It's time for
DodgerHeads. What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Anthony Witrado. Here to talk some people off the ledge, I think, Anthony, as the Dodgers continue to lose baseball games in the month of April. They lose to the Cubs. 2 of their last 3 are losses. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk Max Muncy. People want to talk about that. People want to talk about Miguel Rojas and whether or not they're smiling and laughing is allowed in a 16-0 loss. But Anthony, I have to start with the biggest story in sports because you're a golf guy. 4 weekends a year, I'm a golf guy. This was one of those weekends, the Masters. I try not to be the prisoner of the moment. That felt like one of the greatest golf things I've seen in my life. The last one I can go back to is when Tiger won. So Talk to me about where you were at with the Masters as a golf guy yourself.
I thought it was one of the great final rounds that I've seen in a long time, just from a swings and competition standpoint. The Tiger one was great, but there weren't these huge swings that we saw today. We went from Rory's going to completely melt down from the very start to, oh man, he might win this thing by like 10 shots, to this is going to be the greatest collapse in the history of golf. To he did it, he won the Grand Slam, like this is one of the greatest moments in golf history kind of situations. You ran through the gamut of all those emotions today, and it truly was cool. And I thought that CBS, who doesn't always do a great job of covering golf, did a really good job in understanding the moment and what it meant in in a historical context. And sort of just letting it play out with not a lot of discussion and just sort of letting the pictures and Rory's emotions tell the story. It was great. It was a cool day on that front from a golf perspective.
I know people in the chat are not happy right now. And all I'm saying is all of you missed out on an incredible sports moment. We're not talking golf because this isn't, I don't know. I can't even name a random golf tournament. It was one of the greatest sports events. So anyways, I feel sorry for all the people that are pissed about this, because clearly you didn't watch and you didn't get to see Rory miss the putt on 18 and then come back and sink the putt in the playoff as well.
We're very sorry that we spent 90 seconds on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll never get those 90 seconds of your life back. Kevin says Dodgers suck so bad, annoyed, jump to the Lakers. I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the Lakers either. It's a different sport, same city. But do we like our chances, Anthony, as a 3 seed?
I like it. Yeah. I like the first round matchup.
I wasn't even paying attention. Who did they end up getting? Minnesota.
Yeah. Okay. And I like the week plus off for the rotation guys. So feeling good about their chances in the first round.
300 says not playing well. That happens. I am alarmed at the swing and miss and the chase out of the zone. I appreciate the first part of this 300, not playing well. That happens because it does happen. And we've got a segment coming up where I'm going to say, give me an update. And the first question is, give me an update on how concerned you are about this team. So as soon as we recap today's game, we're going to get into that. Have you noticed, Anthony, the swing and miss and the chase being especially prominent? I know the Dodgers struck out 10 times today, which in some ways feels like a big number. In 2025, it also doesn't feel like that big of a number. So have you noticed what 300 is noticing here, the swing and the miss and the chase?
I have, with certain guys in particular. Muncy, obviously. Ohtani a bit as well. There are a few guys. I think Freddie, as he's kind of coming back a little bit, you've seen him chase a bit. But I also think this is kind of a byproduct of just the offense as a whole struggling. This is what you see. not just from the Dodgers lineup, but like any team that goes through an offensive funk for any kind of extended period of time, which they're in right now, you see guys start to expand the zone. So I'm not alarmed by it. I understand what it is, having watched enough of this stuff, but it is nonetheless frustrating and annoying and all of those things. I wouldn't say alarmed because this team is too good at what they do with approach for this to last long. But yeah, it's getting frustrating watching guys chase out of the zone. It's sort of human nature, I think, when everybody is struggling the way they are.
Totally. And I think I like that you use the word frustrated because we're going to talk concerned later. It's okay. Nobody is going to say what we watched the last 2 days wasn't frustrating. They get their doors blown off last night in the worst home loss ever. And then they come back today and lose a game that I think we all probably agree they shouldn't have won. They didn't play like they deserved to win, but it felt winnable. It felt like it was there for the taking, and they just did not cash in with runners in scoring position, etc. So it's okay. Like, to say that we are frustrated now does not mean we are concerned and worried and like doom and gloom about the season. And so I think it's fair to even be alarmed at the swing and miss and the chasing out of the zone without having to project that moving forward. So again, we'll get into that in a little bit, but thank you for the super chat 300. Aaron's with the super chat as well. Not worried, but it does stink that we slump when the Giants and Padres are hot. We will be fine. The same way we are slumping now, our rivals will too. The Padres are 13-3. They've won 4 in a row. The Giants are 11-4. They've won 7 of their last 10. So Padres a game and a half up on the Giants, 2.5 games up on the Dodgers. It is worth pointing out that the only other team in the National League with a better winning percentage than the Dodgers is the Mets. They are 10-5. The Dodgers at 11-6. So still in the mix. But I agree, Aaron. It does feel magnified, right, Anthony? If we were sitting here and the Dodgers were 11-6 and still in first place in the division, I think the vibes would be different than if they were 11-6 and the two teams in front of them are the Padres and Giants. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it puts a magnifying glass on everything and a brighter spotlight when the others in the division are winning. So, you know, you watch the Dodgers slip in the standings a little more every day when they lose like this. And so, yeah, you start to, you know, people start to panic, I think, of like, oh, you know, it's going to be out of reach by the end of April. And I understand that, again, the frustration there, but the division is not going to be out of reach if the Dodgers, you know, play 500 ball this week. Like,
totally,
it's going to be okay.
I like this from DB James. We're at the same spot as last year, literally the exact same record. So there you go. Things worked out last time I checked.
And I mean, you know, this doesn't always matter, but like they're still on a pace for like, I don't know, what, 105, 106 wins, something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot. The sandwich with the super chat. Shohei, get ready to learn Japanese, buddy. ... Wait a minute. Yeah, Shohei, Anthony, 4 for 25 in his last 5 games. No extra base hits. Time to get rid of this guy. He's no good.
Yeah, what a terrible contract. What a terrible, terrible deal. Yeah. You know what? I thought he looked a little better today in some of these at-bats. He scorched the ball. Might have been one of the harder hit balls on the team this year, right at a guy, right at the right fielder. And so if he gets any air under it, it's halfway up the pavilion at least. So hopefully, you know, finding the barrel, you know, is sort of a sign that he's coming out of it a little bit. But yeah, he's one of the guys also that I mentioned that is chasing. So I think everyone just needs to kind of get back within themselves, and they'll start to right this ship.
The only ball hit harder today was Michael Busch's home run off of Tyler Glasnow. That was 107.8. Shohei's lineout was 107.5. So to your point. So thank you to everybody for the super chat. Let's get into today's game. They lose the series finale to the Cubs 4-2. I mentioned that 10 strikeouts they only get 7 hits compared to 10 strikeouts. Excuse me. Will Smith and Michael Conforto were the only guys that kind of showed up offensively. They had 2 hits apiece. Everybody else was 3 for 25. The top 4 in the lineup was 2 for 15. Of course, there was no Freddie Freeman today. He got the day off until he pinch hit later in the game. They go 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Miguel Rojas 0 for 2. Kike 1 for 2. Muncy 0 for 1 with a sac fly. Teoscar Hernandez 0 for 1 as well. On the pitching side, Tyler Glasnow, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. But then 2 guys you trust in the bullpen, Trine and Investia, both give up runs. in this one. What jumped out to you about today's game, Anthony? Was it the offense? Was it the bullpen faltering? Was there something you saw from Tyler Glasnow in this 4-2 loss to the Cubs?
Yeah, I mean, faltering is they gave up a couple of runs. It's the offense. You're not going to win a whole lot of games when you score twice. That's just sort of the nature of it. Glasnow was good. He gave up two solo shots, and then I think the bullpen gave up the other 2 runs. Maybe it was 3. I don't remember. It's a blur at this point.
Yeah, 2. He gave up Michael Busch's home run and then Crow Armstrong's first home run.
He was fine. It was ended up being a pretty decent outing for him. But it's the offense. It's the main reason why all of this stuff is going on. It's not the pitching. There have been a couple of clunkers in there, but for the most part, the pitching has been really good. Starting pitching and bullpen. It's the defense is bad, but that's not why they lost the game today. They have to hit the ball better.
Yeah. It's interesting looking up and down because you see some of these lineups and the batting averages that are being sported. And I say batting average just because, like, when I look at a box score, that's typically the number that's on the far right in most of these box scores. If you go to some places, you'll get the whole average on base slugging. But for the Dodgers, you look at the top and it's like a tale of 2 halves, right? 273, 288, 250, 281, 224, 341. That's the top 6 in the Dodgers lineup right now. Then it's 176, 114, and 161 for the bottom 3. And obviously I could quote you the on-base percentages and it would basically tell you the exact same story. I could quote you slugging percentages. It would tell you the exact same story. I'm curious, Anthony, how much of the offensive struggles do you think have to do with what the Dodgers are throwing out there currently at the bottom of these lineups? I mentioned they're 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Miguel Rojas got 2 of those at bats, and there's a reason he was batting 9th tonight. And so is it a product of Freddie Freeman being out and Andy Pages not being in the lineup today, which whatever you think about him sort of defensively, he's clearly an upgrade offensively. Like, do you think is this just easily fixable? Is this a slump? How do you interpret what you're seeing offensively?
It's a slump. It's a slump because you're looking at guys like Ohtani and Mookie and Freddie, Muncy, who has not been very good all season, but has a track record of being a very good offensive player. All these guys are down right now. And so, sure, the bottom of the lineup is always going to look ugly. Like, no one's bottom third of the lineup is going to OPS 850. It's just not going to happen. And so, if you want to single them out all the time, it's always going to look bad for the most part. So that is what it is. And those situations will find them, but they're also going to find other guys in the order too, who you would expect to come through more often. I just think it's a slump. It's a kind of a lineup wide sort of, nobody really clicking right now. Yeah. And we see those things all the time. Like, it happens 6-7 times a season. Like, literally 6 or 7 times a season, this happens. Sometimes it lasts a week. Sometimes it lasts 2. It just depends. And they haven't really gotten it going all season. Even when they were, when the record was better, it still was like, all right, offense is not quite there yet. You can see it still sort of sputtering, and they were just getting more timely hits. They're not getting those timely hits right now.
They do say historically that the bats take a little bit longer to wake up in a season than pitching does. Obviously, we're laser focused on one team, so it's sometimes hard to have perspective and look around the league and say, well, this is a slump that the Dodgers are going through, but how does their slump compare to the rest of the league? And I mean, even just looking at the Cubs lineup today, I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong hits 2 home runs. He came into this game with a 197 batting average and a 521 OPS. Let me repeat that. A 521 OPS. That's on base percentage plus slugging percentage was 521. So part of that's a small sample size and how quickly things can change. But do you think, we're going to talk about levels of concern. With the top of the order, the top 6, we're not worried, right? Like, Shohei goes 0 for 5. Neither you or I is panicked about that. Is there any part of you look at the bottom of that lineup? And again, we're going to talk Max Muncy in a little bit, but the Kike Hernandez, Miguel Rojas at bats, the Chris Taylor at bats, the Andy Pages at bats, the Austin Barnes at bats, like those in isolation. Oh, who cares if Chris Taylor gets 3 at bats a week? Who cares if Austin Barnes gets 5 at bats a week? Well, when you add all those up and it's 25, 30 at bats a week that are coming from that group of guys. Does that concern you?
A little bit, but we're probably not having this conversation if the first 6 guys, maybe outside of like Teoscar, are doing their job.
Yeah. Will Smith.
Because we had the same complaint about the bottom third of the order for 6 months last season.
Yeah.
The same exact conversation. And I can promise you, Guardian heads and Rays heads and all these other teams, you can pick every single team, they're going to have an issue with the bottom third of their lineup. That's why those guys hit 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Like for the, it is what it is. Over the course of the season, your bottom third is not going to be as good as your top and your middle third, typically.
And we're comparing Dodgers 7, 8, 9 to their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is a far greater 1 through 6. So the gap is going to be even bigger on a team like the Dodgers, not to cut you off.
For sure. Absolutely. And, the thing that I don't like is Kike feels like he's getting a lot more at-bats than I anticipated at this point in the season.
Yeah.
Rojas is getting a lot more at-bats than I anticipated at this point in the season. And there's different reasons for those things. Guys have been out and all of that kind of stuff. So I get it. But yeah, Kike's not a guy that I want having 450 plate appearances. Rojas isn't a guy that I want having 350 plate appearances, right?
50, maybe 50 plate appearances.
Right. So, a part of it is like just having the expected lineup healthy and in there. And then, the other part of it is like, all right, like, let's get it together. Let's grind starting pitching down again. Like, I think some of that stuff has been lost lately during this little funk is, it's been a little too easy for starting pitching to kind of get through the lineup. But whereas before, even if you might not give up a run, there's a ton of stress on you for whatever reason, because guys are having really good at bats or, get a couple of guys on, maybe you just don't drive them in, stuff like that. And right now they're just not doing those things.
I'm going to ask a trivia question and I'm going to give people 5 or 10 seconds to answer to themselves. But the question is, while I talk, the question's going to be, where do you think the Dodgers rank in OPS in Major League Baseball right now? So on base percentage plus slugging percentage out of 30 teams, where do you think the Dodgers rank? Okay. That's the question I'm going to ask. It's worth pointing out that I think we're at 3 games now that Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman have both played in, maybe 4. So the Dodgers haven't been fully healthy. Nobody has been. So I'm not using that entirely as an excuse. Obviously, to your point, they've kind of had worst case scenarios in a lot of ways. I would say the Andy Pages offensive experience so far this year has pretty much been as bad as we could have hoped or expected.
Yeah.
The Kike Hernandez, Glasses Kike is not here yet, although he is hitting dingers, as I pointed out with Greg on Thursday night show. No matter how low the expectations were for Austin Barnes, I don't think any of us had zeros all the way across the board this point in the season. Miguel Rojas, probably on par with expectations. I mean, if we're being honest, that's the other piece, right? Is you have all these guys, and it's like, well, what's the worst we could get from Pages, Kike, Rojas, Barnes, and Taylor? Guess what? We're getting it.
Yeah,
we're getting the worst of all those things. The answer to the trivia question, do you want to answer this, Anthony? Where do you think out of 30 teams the Dodgers OPS ranks right now?
I would say they're like top 7.
Very good. They're 8th. They're 8th in Major League Baseball. So, and I'm going to say 2 things before people overreact to that number. One is, it should be better. This lineup is better than the 8th best lineup in baseball. So for us to be disappointed is totally reasonable and totally okay. Also, they're 8th. They're not 28th. They're not 18th, right? This team, compared to the rest of the league, we can get so laser focused on our team, and our expectations are the only thing that we compare our team to, or just the team they happen to be playing for 3 days. That's the only comparison point. And so sometimes, not all the time, and you might find this unhelpful, but sometimes, Anthony, it's helpful to zoom out and say, I know what I think. I know what I'm feeling right now, but how does that compare with what a Phillies fan is feeling? Because guess what? The Phillies are 10th in OPS in Major League Baseball. And we just played them, and Schwarber and Trey Turner. Oh my gosh, this lineup, Dodgers are better than them, right? The Dodgers are better than the Giants right now when it comes to OPS. The Dodgers are better than the Red Sox in OPS right now. Like they're better than the Orioles in OPS. These are all teams that I think it just puts things in perspective. At least for me, I find that helpful.
Yeah. those stats aren't going to make people feel better. Like I think they threw up a stat yesterday that said like it was either the top 5 or 6 guys in the lineup were all had an OPS above like 850 going into that game.
Yeah.
Y- Really good. But yeah, the numbers aren't going to make people feel better when you're losing games.
Right.
And that part is understandable. So, but the numbers also don't lie. Like this
Right.
is not a terrible team, and we're not going to sniff 100 losses. Like I think there's a lot, and you don't need to trade 15 of the 26 guys on your roster right now. Like Nolan Arenado is probably not the answer. Like there are just things like that I keep seeing coming up. Austin Barnes isn't going to stop you from winning the World Series. Neither is Chris Taylor on the roster. Like I'm just sorry, and I know people probably don't like to hear that because it's not confirmation bias. But they won the World Series with both those guys on their team last year, and they both sucked last year too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, I think frustration is warranted if you're a Dodgers fan. And if you would like to be optimistic, you can say, hey, we're 8th. We're not 18th. That's not terrible. And Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts haven't both been in the lineup a whole lot this season. So there's reason for optimism. There's reason to believe that this is going to get better and it's going to get better quickly. And oh, by the way, it can't possibly be this bad with the 5 dudes at the end of the bench that we've been talking about, right? That's the optimistic side. The pessimistic side, I think, is where lots of people are and choose to live anyways, because it feels protective. If you expect nothing, then you can't get hurt. Yeah. And so there's 2 ways to view this team and days like today. Let's talk Glasnow real quick, because I found this interesting. I know what the box score says: 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Good box score. It's a nice looking line. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, Anthony. It felt fine. Like this wasn't, I think Glasnow's ceiling is so high. He can be so dominant at times. Tonight, he only got, his whiff rate was 18%. Doesn't tell the whole story, but it kind of lined up with how I felt, what my eyes were telling me as I watched him. Am I on an island on that one? Or did you feel like, and again, not everybody's going to be perfect every single time they take them out, but I guess maybe it's overstating it. I was a little underwhelmed by what I saw from Glasnow today.
Sure. I think part of that is expectations and where we know he can be.
Yeah.
That is part of it. Because if most guys give you 6 innings with 2 solo home runs as the only runs that cross the plate against them and 7 strikeouts, you're going, that's pretty good. So
4 base runners in 6 innings and more than the K per 9. Like, it's fair.
Yeah. So similar to the offensive conversation we just had, right? But I am with you. It was sort of an underwhelming start. Didn't feel like really dominant. And he only got touched for the 2 solo homers. But yeah, it didn't feel like just like a dominant start. It was a good start. It was fine. And they should win that start 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Totally. In all reality. And they probably will. Like if their starter gives them 6 innings and gives up 2 runs, they're probably going to win at like an 80% clip when that happens. But yeah, I was with you. It didn't seem like, it wasn't that, but he was good. He was good.
Yeah. If the offense scores 5 runs, Glasnow's not at all being talked about, right? It puts, when the offense doesn't score, it puts a magnifying glass on everything else. And so, to your point, Trinan giving up 1 run, Vesia giving up 1 run, like, it's going to happen from time to time. But when those guys give up 1 run in the same game that the other guy does and the offense underperforms, all of a sudden, we're talking about the offense and Glasnow and the bullpen, when really, to the point that we made earlier, we should just be talking about Glasnow. It is worth pointing out, we gave out the dog of the week last week. We're not going to do one this week. So maybe it'll be like a dog of the month. Who knows? But did we curse Ben Kasparius, Anthony, by giving him dog of the week? Because Jack Dreyer's sitting right there, and he's like raising his hand and saying, "Excuse me, maybe we messed that one up." And Kasparius goes out there, he gets the Michael Grove treatment last night in that game, and I don't know. I feel bad. Maybe it was our fault that Kasparius got roughed up.
I mean, for the record, my pick was Dreyer. But yes, Kasparius. Yeah, I mean, that was ugly. It was interesting. We don't have to relive all of this, but it was just interesting, like leaving him in to sort of go through it at that time, and like completely putting the game out of reach, basically. was interesting, especially when you have Glasnow. You think like that guy can probably get you deep into a game the next day. And like, yeah. So, I mean, again, spilled milk at this point, but yeah, he did not look good.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying Ben Kasparius equals Michael Grove. I'm just saying Michael Grove was a young pitcher that got called up, and a couple times it was like, hey, man, today's not your day. And normally we'd pull Blake Trinan or we'd pull Kirby Yates in this situation, but you're not Blake Trinan and you're not Kirby Yates. So we appreciate the pitch count, sir. Go get it. So, too bad. We're not. I haven't changed my view on Ben Kasparius at all. Okay, let's go to a segment that I want to call Give Me an Update. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions, Anthony, a series of topics, and just say, hey, where are we at with this particular thing? We got a couple super chats, so let's do these. I'll go to Fritz first. $10 super chat. We appreciate you. He said Pages could never catch the fly out to center in the top of the fourth or hit the single to shallow right off his hands in the bottom of the fifth like Tanks did. I love that. He couldn't have fought one off into right field like Tommy Tanks did. Tommy in center field, Pages to Oklahoma City. So this was on my list. It was going to be number 2, but I'll ask it now because we appreciate the super chat, Fritz. Give me an update on where you're at. I saw a lot of this on social media today. Man, it's nice having Tommy Edman in center field. I joked, it's nice having Tommy Edman in center field until Miguel Rojas goes 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position because he's in the lineup and playing second.
Yeah.
But where are you at on not Tommy Edman? We know where you were at on Tommy Edman. We know where Dodgers fans are at on Tommy Edman. Where are you at on who should be playing where for the Dodgers?
I said this the last time we talked about this. He's an elite Gold Glove type of second baseman. He's a pretty good center fielder.
Yeah.
There's a pretty big gap there in terms of like what those two things are. But center fielder is a premium position. Second base is not. Now, how you go about moving the musical chairs around if you put Edmund in center field, and maybe at some point in the pretty near future, maybe that's Hyun-Sung Kim.
Yeah.
He's hitting well in Oklahoma City. We'll see where they go. I know the Dodgers want to give him a lot of runway there before they start talking about bringing him in. Yeah. But let's just say, for this argument's sake, if Kim ends up at second base with the Dodgers and he's, let's say, a good defensive second baseman, and then you have Edman in center field, I think that gives you a better defensive outlook than the Gold Glove elite second baseman in Edman there, and then playing Pages or Hernandez or whoever the choice of the day is in center field, where they're going to struggle defensively. And they're not, where Edman might be pretty good, they're not even good, and you're hoping they're just average.
Totally.
So that's sort of where I am on it. I think we're still a little ways off in terms of what the organization is thinking, and for like a replacement to address that thing. I think we're still a little bit ways from that happening, even if we want it like sooner. But that's sort of my thinking on it.
Yeah. By the way, this is not a massive glass of whiskey. This is iced tea that we're drinking over here. We're not, it's like somebody sees a glass up to here. They're like, holy smokes, this guy's getting after it. Just wait till we hit the 45-minute mark, people. I think the counter, Anthony, to what you said is the gap between Edman at second base. And I agree. So I'm playing devil's advocate here. The gap between Edman at second base and the gap between Edman at second versus Edman in center field is sizable. I think the counter would be the gap between Edman in center and Pages in center is also sizable, maybe equally sizable. And so, yes, he might be better at second base, but having a improved person at a more premium position in center field may offset the loss of an elite second baseman.
Correct. Yeah. I would, that's a great way to put it. I would agree with that. To improve the defense overall, given what you have on your current roster in the minors, that is probably the best that you can do in terms of like a defensive alignment. And who knows, like Kim may be better than just okay or good at second base. He may end up being, very good. We'll see if that ever comes. But yeah, I think the trade-off there is better at this point if it was Edman in center field versus Edman at second base.
Yeah. Where I'm at is thinking about guys currently on the roster, because we could play the Ha-Seong Kim, Alex Freeland game all day. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, because I think we're nearing that. Kim had 2 home runs yesterday. Outman had 2 home runs yesterday. Freeland's been on a tear. Outman went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts today. So I think we can. Outman has a peak, and then it's just like, as soon as I want to buy back in, it's like 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. I guess where I'm at, Anthony, is like, I'm done with Miguel Rojas. Just put Pages in center every single day. I know what I'm getting defensively. It's awful. I know what I'm getting base running wise. It's awful. But like, I can't keep seeing Miguel Rojas can't come up twice with runners in scoring position, Anthony. And he had to be pinch hit for. That was twice in 3 at bats. He came up with runners in scoring position in a game the Dodgers lost by 2. And that, was closer than that for most of this game. I just can't do Rojas. So as bad as Pages is, they have given me the alternative that makes me look at Pages in center field, Bambi on ice, and watch him run the bases, which is like, cross your fingers, close your eyes, and hope for the best. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. Give me that all day, because I'm out on Rojas.
I'm with you. Rojas on the bench, late inning defensive replacement in the infield only.
Yeah, only.
And I'll take my chances with Pages in center field. I'm with you on that 100%.
Yeah. And Kim's interesting. Look, everybody that watches our show knows that I was sort of cooling the jets on Ha-Seong Kim. Guys don't come over from Korea typically. And like they almost never are good the first year. And as I pointed out, the guys that have come over came over from much higher places than Ha-Seong Kim did. That said, he's killing it in Oklahoma City. And this might be one that I'm way off on. I felt good after spring training. I haven't felt as good about that opinion as I have watching what he's done in Oklahoma City. Now it's AAA. Guys put up big numbers. Andre Lipsy has put up big numbers. But I think he's going to get a chance sooner or later, and we're going to find out one way or another. He made a great diving play at shortstop that I saw a highlight of. The question mark is him in center field, but I feel pretty decent. He could play second base. He could play, which is the other spot. So even if it's just putting Ha-Seong Kim at second base and trying it out, it's like, what's the worst that could happen there? It will be upgraded defensively at a bare minimum, because he'll be better at second than Pages is in center field. It's an upgrade base running, because you're going from like a minus runner to a guy in Kim that's anywhere from plus to plus as a runner. And even if the bat is non-existent, Pages hasn't been that good. I joked on Thursday that he keeps hitting dingers, but to me, I'm to the point where, like, sure, do I think Alex Freeland may be more ready for it? Yes, but if it's going to be Kim, I'm not going to complain, because while Pages is a huge step up over Rojas, I still think there are better options out there than Andy Pages, given that he's had a runway in spring training and he didn't take it. He's had a runway in the regular season, and yes, he's hit a couple of home runs lately, but I just need to see more to sort of close the door on anybody down in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I agree. And for me right now on this date, in the short term, my preference would be Kim.
Yeah.
And
in center or at second?
Well, probably. I haven't seen him at all in center field. Obviously, I don't watch many OKC games, and I haven't seen many of the reports other than, like, he's picking it up essentially. Like,
yeah, I texted Alex Friedman, who's their play-by-play guy and who has come on our show before. Yeah. And he basically said, I don't really have much to say positive or negative. Like, he hasn't been a disaster out there. He hasn't seemed awesome. So, and that's a guy who's covering the team, working for the team. So it's not like he's not paying attention. He's just like, you don't really notice him positively or negatively, which I think is a positive. That's probably a positive review compared to expectations.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I would probably play him at second base, a position he's comfortable at, played his whole life, versus then letting him try to figure this out at the major league level.
Yeah.
Some spot starts here and there and kind of see what he looks like. Sure, that's fine. But like on a more regular, consistent basis, I would just have Edman out in center and Kim at second, and then you kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Voody wants to know, what exactly does this team do well, which is a perfect segue into my next. Give me an update, Anthony. Give me an update on your concern level for this team. They were 8-0 to start the year. They are 3-6 in their last 11 days. If I really wanted to, I could have given you a run differential stat over that stretch, but somebody on Twitter will give you that run differential that includes 16-0 and is totally bogus and unhelpful, but it won't be me. 5 of their 6 losses have been by 2 runs or less. They haven't blown anybody out. We've talked about the offense. We've talked about some of the guys in the bullpen. Give me an update on level of concern with this team. And to answer Voodie's question, what exactly does this team do well? What do you expect this team to do well?
Yeah, I'll give you my level of concern, and I'll follow that up with the reason why to answer Voodie's super chat. 10, the sky is falling. Trade everyone. See what you can get for Ohtani. To 0, where like, who cares if they lost today and yesterday? Like all of that. I'm at like a 4.
Okay, 4. I was expecting 0 out of you.
Yeah, I'm at a 4, and the only reason is because I'd like to see certain. Like, I'm not worried about Ohtani. I'm not worried about Mookie. I'm not worried about Freddie. Teo, all good. Edman, all good. It's guys like Muncy that it's still frustrating with him because there's no. I'm not seeing a lot of improvement in approach.
Yeah,
I don't need results. This is like, to see someone getting better isn't necessarily like they go from 0 for 11 to 4 for 4 the next day with 3 home runs. It's process. And I'm not seeing a lot of visible improvement in process from a guy like Max Muncy. And that part is frustrating. And we've talked about him before as being sort of a connector in this lineup. And when he's playing well, how deep this lineup suddenly becomes.
Yeah.
And how difficult it becomes to navigate. And that's when this offense is really just one of the most dynamic offenses that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like in the history of baseball, like that kind of good. The other guys will get it back on track. I'm not too worried about that. But that gives me some concern. The reason why, what do they do well? And the reason why it's only a 4, and it's only a 4 right now because the offense has struggled for most of the season.
Yeah.
It's the pitching. The pitching is really, really good. Starting pitching and the bullpen. Sure, you're going to have games that look ugly and inflate a number or 2 here or there, but I would put this rotation, even without Snell in it currently, and this bullpen up against anyone else's in baseball. Like that's what they do well. And if it may have been like a question to just elicit the answer, but like if people can't see that this pitching staff is fantastic
and going to get better,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you because this is one of the best in baseball.
Laura says she said 4, but if the Dodgers don't sweep the Rockies, that 4 turns into a 6. Here's why my number is lower than 4. I'm going to say it.
Yeah,
2 is where I'm at on the level of concern.
Okay.
This team's on 105 win pace right now. If they play the 17 games that we've seen them play, and if they went 11-6 every 17 game stretch of this season, they would end up the season with 105 wins is where they would end up. And so I think we would all say this team is going to play better. The offense is going to improve. Like the pitching staff is not going to have the performances of Justin Robleski and Landon Knack that we've seen of late. I mean, they're going to get sprinkled in, but why would I be concerned? I mean, if anybody should be concerned, it's me, the guy who says they're going to win 112 games this year. Most people took the under. Well, they're right on pace. This is exactly what you expected out of this team, to win 11 of their last 17. And so I just think I'm optimistic. I'm definitely optimistic. I know that. But I just look at this team and say, they've won 11 out of 17. And I don't think they've played their best. I don't think they're anywhere close to their best. I think the offense is going to get better. We haven't seen Ohtani go on a stretch like we know he's going to go on, right? Mookie Betts is still coming back from losing 20 pounds at the beginning of the season. Freddie Freeman has barely played for this team. Max Muncy, who we're going to get to, like, is this really the version of Max Muncy? We may disagree on whether or not that is. I don't think that it is. I think the bullpen is going to get itself sorted out. Like Evan Phillips hasn't pitched in a game. Michael Kopech hasn't pitched in a game yet this season. Shohei Ohtani hasn't pitched in a game yet this season. Clayton Kershaw hasn't pitched in a game. I just think where we are now, it's only going to get better. So that's why I'm a 2. And again, maybe I'm way too optimistic about it, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair. If the offense hadn't been sort of slumping for as long as they have at this point, 2 is probably my answer also.
Yeah. And look, I'll argue against myself. Hey, Jeff, that's great that you just gave us the 17 game stretch. But where are you at on the last 9-game stretch where they were 3-6? You know, it's the classic. Whatever you want to see, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you would like to be optimistic, I'm going to quote you 11-6 in the last 17. And if you want to be more pessimistic, you'd say they're 3-6 in their last 9. Why are we focusing on the 8-0 they did at the beginning of the season and letting that overshadow the 3-6? And I'm telling you, as the person quoting you 11-6, you're not wrong. If you tell me 3-6 in the last 9, I'm concerned.
Here's the thing. Whether it's 17 or 6 or whatever it is the other sample size was, they're both incredibly small.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this team won the World Series last year. I still think they're the most talented, and I don't think that talent's going to disappear overnight. So we just got a bunch of super chats, so let's fire through some of these. Some of these are going to be related to questions that we have. Tim G says, silver lining was Yamamoto's start on Friday. Is Muncy off to a slow start? Track record, sure. Even with guys with track records eventually fade. This was next on my list. Give me an update on where you're at with Max Muncy. I got a text message from somebody that I love who told me that Max Muncy is the most overrated player in Major League Baseball, to which I responded with, what is he rated? Like, who do people think that Max Muncy is? I don't think anybody believes Max Muncy is like a top 50 hitter in Major League Baseball anymore. So for him to be overrated, like, we have to figure out where he's accurate, where he's actually rated, and then whether he lives up to that or not. But give me an update on where you're at with Max Muncy. It's been ugly this season. He's hitting 176 with a 232 on base, a 255 slug. He comes up with runners on first and second in his first at bat and strikes out. He does get the sac fly later in the game, but he was 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts tonight. So where are you at with Max?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier, but I don't like the approach. He's the guy that you rely on to at least be able to grind pitchers down, and he's doing the opposite of that. I sort of documented pitch by pitch an at bat that he had a few games ago that sort of pointed to me where he's at, and it's not in a good place. So, you know, he's the reason. He's a big reason for my 4 instead of a 2 like you had. We're also less than 60 plate appearances into a season where he'll probably have, if he's fairly healthy, 550.
Yeah.
And so, you know, are the days of Muncy being an all-star and hitting 35 homers? Maybe.
He was on pace for 30 last year.
Yeah. And he's also a guy who's capable of hitting like 10 in a month.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to give it more than 60 plate appearances, which is a small fraction of what we would be looking at over the course of a season.
Yeah.
It has not been good in those 55 or whatever it is plate appearances that he's had this year. I'll grant you that. It's been ugly. And there are no current signs of it improving. Although that ball that he hit for a sac fly today, all right, find the barrel, hit a ball hard, cool. Like,
yeah,
you know, we're looking for anything that we can to give us some hope with him. So we'll see. But yeah, I think the sample is still so small that you can say it's a slow start. But you know, another 30 plate appearances or so, which is not a long time. You know, that's a week or two. Let's see where it's at, and let's see if you start to see any improvement. If not, then yeah, I think some conversations are probably going to start to be had, not just on this show and in this chat, but probably in the front office.
Yeah. He's 34, so he's getting to a point where for some guys, this is either the beginning of the end or maybe the end.
Yeah.
And so I think it's reasonable. Like, we've seen guys like Justin Turner kind of extend their career out, and I think we're going to find out in the next 6 months if Max Muncy's going to have a Justin Turner-esque end to his career, or I don't know who else the other alternative is, but a guy who all of a sudden it's over and you didn't even notice it. Because it's worth pointing out, he was good last year.
He was
hurt
last year.
He played half a year. Among guys with 250 at-bats last season, he had the 25th best OPS in Major League Baseball. He was a 135 weighted runs created plus guy last season. I'm not quoting you like how good he was in 2022, because 2022 was actually basically the worst season of his career. 2023, 20% above league average, OPS over 800. Last season, OPS of like 850. So the reason, I'm an optimist. You've already heard me declare that 100 times on this show. But so yes, it's looked bad. I'm not telling anybody it hasn't looked bad. The question is it going to continue to look bad? I'm skeptical that it's going to continue to look this bad. And I've said before, Anthony, I'm the guy that will hold on the rope 5 minutes too long rather than jump off the ride 5 minutes too early, right? I will be the last guy in on Max Muncy until it's all over. And then I'll look back and say, I probably should have hopped off the Max Muncy train 5 minutes ago. But on the flip side, there have been lots of guys who everybody else jumped off the train 5 minutes too early. And then all of a sudden, to your point, Gavin Lux is a perfect example. But Max Muncy has, 5 home runs in the next 10 days. And all of a sudden we're sitting here saying, man, did we really bury him after 52 plate appearances to begin the season? So I can see both sides. I'm probably like 60% optimistic, 40% pessimistic on Muncy.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and like I said, it's too small a sample yet to make the judgment and say that's where I'm at with it for good. And the track record has been too good, even as recently as last season. So again, I don't like what I'm seeing because it feels like not the Max Muncy that we've grown accustomed to watching in the batter's box.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that he can't change it. And like I said, barreled the ball today,
Yeah, I thought
barrel one tomorrow. You start to find it slowly, and then balls start to fall, and then suddenly your approach changes because you're a little more confident. We'll see how this all plays out. Right now, it doesn't look good. And yes, like I see the question here: was Max good last season? Yeah, Jeff just read out the stats. He was very good. He didn't play as much as we wanted him to, but when he did play, he was pretty good. And he was not as good later in the season, I think, if I remember correctly, but he also had a little stretch in the postseason where I think he reached in 11 consecutive plate appearances or something like that. Like, he did show some production even in October.
How you feel about Max Muncy, and I mean this not negatively, so don't take this negatively. How you feel about Max Muncy is probably connected to how you feel about batting average. The people in my life, and I shouldn't generalize the people in my life and project that on everybody else. The people in my life who hate Max Muncy are the people who look at his batting average. And last year in the postseason is a perfect example of this. They look at a 163 batting average and say he sucks. Get him out of here. He's terrible. But they ignore the fact that he had an almost 400 on base percentage, which actually made him 25% better than league average offensively. And to Jason's point, he was awful in 5 games of the World Series. Yes, totality of the postseason is what I'm talking about. And so I see Matty Man says, no, it's the strikeouts. Okay, sure. Like maybe it's the strikeouts.
But that's always something we've lived with, and that's not new.
Exactly. And I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't care about batting average or you shouldn't care about a strikeout rate. I'm just telling you that by other metrics that maybe aren't your favorites, Max Muncy last year was one of the 25 best offensive players in Major League Baseball. And you could argue with OPS if that's the perfect stat. I don't think there is a perfect stat offensively. Sure. But if we're measuring on base percentage plus slugging percentage, to me, that feels like as close as we're going to get. And so, again, it might be over for Max Muncy. Like this might be the cliff and I might be the last guy on the train. Yeah. Looking at some of the savant stuff for him, by the way, it's just like right now he's first percentile in strikeout rate. He was not first percentile last year. He's usually like not good. I think he's usually like, let's see, like 20th percentile or something like that. Like he's not good, but he's the worst in the league at striking out. So is that going to continue? Is that going to get slightly better? He's 72nd percentile average exit velocity off the bat, 67th percentile barrel rate, 80th percentile hard hit rate, 94th percentile launch angle sweet spot percentage. And then there's some negative stats. He's in the 30 to 45th percentile for a lot of the expected numbers. The whiff rate, chase rate, walk rate, none of those are great. So it's a mixed bag on all that stuff. If you think the strikeout rate is going to improve a little bit and the batted ball luck is going to improve a little bit, then all of a sudden you can squint and see. But again, I'm not sitting here telling anybody they're wrong about Max Muncy. I'm just giving you my own thoughts on where I'm at with Max Muncy. Let's get to some more of these super chats. Shelly says, my first super chat of the season. You're making me feel better. I was at my Seder and saw they lost. Was so bummed. Happy Passover to those who celebrate. Happy Palm Sunday to those who celebrate that as well. Fritz says 3-6, no Kershaw, Snell, or Gonsolin in April. Not worried. I didn't even mention Gonsolin or the fact that Blake Snell is currently out. So good point there. Stockton Slap says we are kidding ourselves. This offense has holes. We agree. We talked about the holes at the top of the show.
Yeah, and I don't think we came into the season saying there weren't any.
Totally. Stockton also says shuffle the damn lineup. Try something new. Briefly, Anthony, is there anything you would do with the lineup, or is it just you can only rearrange the chairs on the Titanic at the bottom of this lineup so many times?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that does for you. To just move guys around, you're going to hit number 4 now instead of number 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're talking about benching guys, I don't think they have that luxury quite yet. But yeah, I mean, just moving guys in the order, Ohtani hits second, Mookie hits leadoff or something like that. Like, I don't think that makes much of a difference.
Yeah. Freedom says Muncy is a seasoned veteran, struggling at bat, should have been over by now. He swings every time for the fences. Yeah,
he always has swung for the fences, though. Freedom, and again, I'm with Jeff. I'm not saying you're wrong because you're right. The struggle should have been over by now. I said that's why he's concerning to me, because there hasn't been that improvement. But he's always struck out and he's always swung for the fences. If his approach gets better, I might start to have more hope. I'm not off of him yet because the sample size is too small. But we haven't even played 20 games yet in a season that's 162. But if I don't see any improvement, then yeah, as a fan, I will start to say, okay, conversations need to be had about him right now.
Yeah. Blake, by the way, chiming in for the chat. Blake, thanks for being in here. He said you should tell people not to care about average strikeouts. I was being more polite there, Blake. A little bit more direct and to the point. So there you go. You can argue with Blake in the chat if you disagree with him there. Let's see. David, going back to our concern question, I'm more worried about what I'm going to order at the Lamplighter Tuesday night than the Dodgers right now. So, I mean, and I wouldn't even be worried about that. The pictures you've sent us, David, you have nothing to worry about. Let's see. Freedom says no excuse of getting ass whipping in last night's game. Had men on base many times and never scored a run. Muncy needs to go. He is not getting better. Again, this was sent before our Muncy chat, so we appreciate that. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more of these. Okay, Stockton Slap. Here we go. Laura says, on a bright note, MLB is not claiming the Dodgers are bad for baseball anymore. So there you go. That narrative is out of the news, Laura. You are 100% right about that. Stockton with an idea for the lineup. Edman at first. Edman batting first. Okay, he's talking positions here too. Edman, Betts, Ohtani, Freddie, Teo, Conforto, Muncy, Pages, Smith. This is the best formula. Freeman was not available tonight. Pages was out of the lineup, so there were some things that they couldn't have done that today. But how do you feel about moving Edman up? I'm going to share my thoughts on Tommy Edman batting leadoff here in just a second, but I'd like to get your thoughts first, Anthony.
I like him where he's at.
Yeah,
I wouldn't change it. It's working well for him, and I'm definitely not moving Ohtani to third. If that costs me 50 plate appearances over the course of the season, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah,
I want him up as much as I can, and I don't really care what the bottom of the order is doing.
Tommy Edman's on base percentage starts with a 2 right now. That's not honestly, and this is going to sound crazy. If I had to move somebody to the leadoff spot right now, the way that they're playing, Anthony, and to your point, I want Ohtani batting second, Mookie batting third, Freddie batting fourth, Teo fifth, etc. Like if it's not Betts, Ohtani, or Freeman, you know who I'd move to first, just based on how they're playing right now?
Teo?
Will Smith.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Because Will's getting on base. I mean, the on base percentage is 481. It's almost 500. He reached base 2 more times today, 2 for 4. So with a double, like if the goal is to get people on base in front of your guys, that would be Will Smith. Will Smith's that guy. Now he's a janitor and he can't clean up a ton of guys off the bases if Miguel Rojas is hitting right in front of him. So that hurts my nickname here a little bit. But I think it's a not a bad idea, Stockton, to move some guys around. But those would be my thoughts. Let me get to a couple more things here. Briefly, and Richard, I see your super chat. We're not ignoring it. We're going to talk Rojas stuff in a second. My last one on give me an update, Sasaki. Last night, they lose 16-0, not his fault. I have some good and some bad on numbers. I'll throw these at you. You tell me what you think. Here's the good. He was in the zone almost 60% of the time. The splitter was in the zone 40% of the time, which doesn't sound great, but that's a big number for him. Normally that number is started with the 1. He got 10 swings on 23 splitters, 4 of those whiffs. That would be the good for me. The bad, the fastball. 27 swings on his fastball, Anthony, and only 2 of them missed the bat. 2 whiffs on 27 swings. Lance came on this show and talked about that the fastball does not grade out all that well, even if it is thrown hard. We've seen that. The total is 18% whiff rate, not super sustainable as far as success rate goes. Some would make the case. So where are you at? Give me an update on Sasaki now that we're a few starts in.
The fastball for me plays off the splitter, and that hasn't been the dynamic pitch we were hoping it would be at this point.
Yeah.
Makes the fastball worse.
Yeah.
In terms of what hitters see in it. I think if the splitter is more devastating, and it's getting better, there's improvement there, then I think the fastball plays better.
Yeah.
Because guys are now a little more on the lookout for other stuff, change of speed, and he's able to keep them off balance better. Also, the command of that fastball yesterday was not as good as it was in Philadelphia. And so that adds to that as well.
Yeah.
I think the fastball played scarier against the Phillies than it did against the Cubs because he had better control of it and he was able to put it where he wanted to more often. I will say too, the in the zone rate for the splitter, I think that's fine because I don't want that thing in the zone very often.
It just has to be a threat.
Yeah, but for that to matter more, the fastball has to be in the zone or around the zone more often.
Yeah.
Because there were some fastball pitches that he was throwing that were just like not competitive.
Right. And again, the concerning number to me, even more than the command, is if you get 27 swings on your fastball and 25 times they make contact, that's a scary number for a guy that, if we're being honest, kind of has 2 pitches right now, maybe 2.5. And that's a difference. Yamamoto, as the season went on, they began incorporating a 3rd and 4th pitch. He's now up to 6. So it's a work in progress on Sasaki, but I wanted to get your thoughts. Okay. Real quick, Stockton following up. More important to get Ohtani up with runners on, not just appearances. You sound novice by saying that. Tired of seeing 2 outs, nobody on for him. My pushback here would be the Dodgers have him batting first for a reason. So yes. I don't think Andrew Friedman is a novice. I don't think the front office as a whole is a novice.
You're essentially calling the entire front office stupid.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm going to guess that's not accurate.
Freedom. And also, here's the thing too. Like I'm not letting that one slide. When there's 2 outs and nobody on, I don't want a guy who cannot start a rally by himself in that spot in the order. Ohtani can go nobody on and 2 outs and give you a number in that inning with 1 swing. Yeah. So the guys on is far less important to me than, okay, if there's no threat right now in this inning, can you by yourself be that threat? And right. He's the best guy at that, maybe in baseball, except for Aaron Judge.
Yeah. And even if you move him to second or something, you're really only putting 1 batter in front of him that you feel better about. And if you want to get 3 guys you feel good about in front of Ohtani, then to your point, you've now shifted the number of total at bats, which over the course of a season, you're playing the averages here.
And the other thing is, how long before, okay, Stockton slapped, and how long does Mookie have to be in a slump? Is it 12 at bats before you start changing things up again?
Yeah.
Waiting because he's not on enough in front of Ohtani. It's like lineup construction is, I think, it's a mythical creature that fans have sort of propped up as like something that really is important. Lineup construction does not matter aside from like, don't hit Miguel Rojas in the top 3 in your order, like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like these other, for the most part, it doesn't matter. You just want your best players to get the most at bats.
Yeah. And I think you said it. It's for the most part, it doesn't matter. Cause I always laugh when someone says, hey, lineup construction doesn't matter unless Miguel Rojas. And it's like, okay, well then it does matter because you just said there's at least one example where it does matter. So I think you finished it right. Like the Dodgers could throw darts at the board for the top 6 and what order those 6 guys are in, and it probably wouldn't move the needle. We all agree that the bottom 3 or 4 in the lineup need to stay in the bottom 3 or 4 in the lineup. But if they moved things around, the reality is it wouldn't change all that much. But I tend to agree with you.
There's a couple in here that says, like Ohtani's not a leadoff hitter. Well, if you're 30 years ago, 40 years ago impression of a leadoff hitter is a tiny guy who plays second base and who's fast but can't hit the ball into the gaps.
Yeah.
That's not where the game is at today.
And the reason the game's not there is because
Kyle Schwarber hits leadoff.
Yeah, and the reason it's not there is because analytics have changed how we think about who you want to get the most at bats. Analytics tell you, and you can hate analytics, that's fine. You can hate the numbers. But analytics tell you, hey, you know what's good for the Dodgers? If Shohei Ohtani leads the team in at bats, and if Mookie Betts is second on the team in at bats, and Freddie Freeman is third in at bats, that's good, first of all. And second of all, to your point, speed, which we presume to be super important, isn't all that important as far as where they bat in the order. And so you mentioned Kyle Schwarber. He's a power hitter. He's also a massive on-base percentage guy.
Yeah.
You want to get guys up front who are your best hitters and who get on base in front of the rest of your best hitters. So I understand the complaint about like, dang, it sucks to see Ohtani come up with nobody on consistently because Miguel Rojas is screwing up the rally right in front of him, or Austin Barnes is swinging at a 2-0 pitch and not giving Ohtani the chance. I understand that. But the frustration with that is not meant to be directed at the lineup construction and where Ohtani is hitting. It should be directed at Miguel Rojas and the guys at the bottom of the order that aren't carrying their weight. Because getting Ohtani the maximum number at bats statistically will give the Dodgers the greatest chance to score the greatest runs over the course of the season, which is the goal here. And it's not Jeff versus Blake. Blake and I are in complete agreement on this. He said that
I promise you, Blake understands the roster construction argument perfectly fine.
Yeah, and he said the Dodgers don't believe in lineup construction. You could lead off anyone and win the same amount. I'm guessing Blake doesn't believe that Miguel Rojas batting leadoff wouldn't change things, but if he does,
we're
believe
not being
that,
imbeciles here. We're using common sense. Yeah, but yeah, he said it well.
Yeah. So Blake, correct me if I'm wrong. If you think Miguel Rojas and the bottom three batting 1, 2, and 3 today wouldn't change things, then we disagree. But I don't think you're saying that. Okay.
And not to keep beating on this, but I do like Ohtani coming up first, like especially in the first inning, because you're putting immediate pressure on the other starting pitcher.
Yeah,
like that's immediate stress on your starter from pitch number 1. I like that.
Yeah. Richard says it's bad enough that Miggy can't hit. It was out of hand when it was a blowout, but to be doing impressions on the mound, pitching like it was a beer league game was Busch League bad luck. This was the last topic I had on my list. Dodgers lose 16-0. If you missed it, you didn't miss a whole lot. Honestly, the thing you probably missed the most was Miguel Rojas doing a Roki Sasaki impersonation, a Clayton Kershaw impersonation, guys in the dugout laughing about it. There was a lot of noise on social media, Anthony, about whether that was appropriate. The team is getting slaughtered, and should they be laughing? Should they be messing around in a game that counts? Your thoughts, Anthony?
It's too long a season to expect these people, they're people,
yeah,
to be completely down in the dumps anytime they lose a game. Or if a game is not going right, they should look like someone just shot their dog. That's not healthy. One, it's not healthy it's not healthy mentally. Like they're not going to be in a good mindset for the next day, or that's going to wear on you if you continually beat yourself down. This is a game of failure.
Yeah. Like
the best people at this sport fail, if you want to talk about batting average, fail 70% of the time. And so to continuously put yourself in that mental state is not going to be good for you. And it's not going to be good for the outcomes going, into the future. And so, I had a conversation one time about sort of how fans see players and what they expect out of players, and how you should act a certain way in this situation because I want you to feel that way. I want to see you feel that way. Fans think that players sometimes don't care as much about the outcome as the fans do. I can promise you that's not true.
Well, I mean, I'm going to guess there's some players that don't, but for the most part, I'm sure you're right.
Sure, but there's also
because there's fans that probably care 150%. You could argue too much. And there's players that we know don't live and die with the outcome of games in the way that some fans do. I know for a fact that is true.
Yeah. But then I would say, okay, anytime you have a not great day at your job, fan, you should act like everything in the world is wrong.
Yeah. I mean, let me pause because I probably took us down the wrong road. It doesn't matter. Like, my job is not their job. My job, millions of people do not watch me do what I do, and millions of people do not like have any vested interest in how my day goes. So I think there's a gap here. Richard, I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the thought. You are not alone. I know that.
No, he's
I
not.
personally
He's not.
am on the other side. Jedi Engineer says, hey, man, if you're losing by that much, you got to find the fun somewhere. I loved the impressions. Look, you all know how I feel about Miguel Rojas. Not my favorite dude in the world. Not my favorite player to watch in the world. I thought it was funny. Like, they were getting their butts kicked. The game was already over. And I understand that, hey, I understand intellectually the people that dislike this. I'm just telling you I wasn't one of them because this game was over. They play 162 of these. These are people, as you pointed out. I think you make a great point, Anthony. They're human beings. And Rojas was having fun in a game where the outcome was no longer in the balance. As somebody pointed out, the second Rojas, who in case you didn't know is not a pitcher, the second that Rojas went out to the mound to be a pitcher, this turned into a Busch League game. To answer your question, Richard, it was Busch League. It was literally Busch League because he's not a pitcher pitching. Right. They have rules that you're only allowed to do that when the game is certain amount out of hand. Well, guess what? It was a certain amount out of hand. So I thought it was funny. I thought it brought some levity to a moment that if you were still watching, maybe was encouraging to you. But again, I intellectually understand the people who disagree. I tend to be with Jedi Engineer here.
Yeah, my greater point on this is like if a guy has a bad day at the plate and you are not happy unless he's going in and smashing his bat over the water cooler, that's not okay.
Yeah, but I don't think people. But I think that's the straw man. I don't think anybody is like, hey, these guys need to be crying in the dugout. I think that the real argument here is, hey, can we just take this seriously? Not life and death. Nobody's claiming this is life and death.
It's a game.
Yeah. And again, I agree with you, but I just don't want you and me to be arguing against the straw man because nobody is sitting here saying smash your bat every time you get out and cry like a baby every single time your team loses. Nobody's arguing for that.
I would just ask those people, where is the line then? What, in your mind, what is an appropriate?
They would say, hey, just go out there, throw the pitch, get the game over with, and don't make jokes about a game that you're losing 16-0.
Yeah, an infielder was pitching.
Yeah, again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't want us to be diminishing sort of the counter argument to what you and I are saying.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yes, once Miguel Rojas goes out there to pitch, hey, heck, once Miguel Rojas goes out there to play, I mean, maybe that's the moment. I'm just kidding. Freedom says, personally, Yamamoto blows away Sasaki. I'm thinking they brought him into MLB too soon. Down the road, he'll be much better. Yeah, I mean, Yamamoto is a number of years older in his second year in Major League Baseball. So there's a lot of reasons. You're absolutely right. Yamamoto is light years ahead of where Sasaki is now.
Yamamoto might win the Cy Young Award this year.
And yeah, exactly. And down the road, we all agree Sasaki is going to be much better. So, okay, let's get into some questions. If you've got any questions, we got about 5 or 6 minutes. We'll do that. Maybe mix it up a little bit. I do have one food question, if I can remember it for the end. I was deeply offended by something I saw in a restaurant, and I posted on social media, but I want to get your thoughts. But before we get to that, if anybody has any baseball stuff to get in, let us know. Throw that all caps in the questions. A heads up, again, as a reminder, we're here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays live. And then we've got stuff coming up throughout the week. We had an interview with Eric Gagne last week, which was awesome. We have an interview with Mark Wicker, who wrote a book about Don Drysdale. So if you're into learning a little bit about Dodger history, which was news to me, you can go ahead and check that out. I believe that posted this morning. So go ahead and check that out. You can check out his book, Up and In. So there you go. Okay. Dave wants to know, did Jeff retire Austin Barnes as a whipping boy? Greg Bergman says, like, everybody needs a villain. They need somebody that they're like, it's their arch nemesis. And so he likes that I have Austin Barnes as mine. Do you have an arch nemesis,
on this
Anthony?
Team? On this team?
Like, he joked that he had kind of an irrational dislike of Alex Vesia last year when Vesia was struggling. I don't think he dislikes Alex Vesia. I think he's come around, but he was just kind of an anti-Vesia guy for a little bit.
Yeah, all right. I think mine is kind of Miguel Rojas right now.
Yeah, see, that's I may have too many nemesis. So, there we go. Tim says Dodgers April record, last 3 full-length season with World Series appearances, 14-12, 11-14, 15-11. Why should our worry level be at anything over 0 at 11-6? I don't think there is necessarily correlation between a 500 record at the 26 game mark and a World Series appearance. But your point, Tim, is perfectly well taken. I think we all wish this team were playing better. There is reason to be frustrated, even if we can zoom out and say, you know what? It's not the end of the world. I think that's where we're all at. So
totally.
It's a great question. Ederico says with Mr. Witrado. Wow, look at that. Mr. Witrado.
Appreciate that, Ederico.
Yeah, he is not worthy of Mr. Let me just tell you. It's we just come up with nicknames. My goodness.
Wife would agree.
Yeah. About Muncy, how much more time do you give him? He hasn't been the same since the 2021 injury. Again, I would disagree. I think he was good last year, but how much longer? Like, does he get 2 more weeks and we reevaluate? Is it 6 more weeks? Does he get the Gavin Lux treatment where he gets 3 full months to sort things out? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I would disagree also that he was good last year. Like, he was good. But I think I said earlier something like another 30, 40 plate appearances to start to see if there's a shift there in approach and process, which is another 2 weeks or so, give or take, right around there. And if there is no change in that process, in that approach, then I think conversations need to start being had about what your alternatives are. Dave Roberts said today after the game, I think it was today, that he's starting to see something in Max that he's liking. Like there's there's small things that are starting to shift for him that he's in favor of and that are showing some positives there. He referenced the sack fly today and all of that. So yeah, for me, I think he's right around 60-ish plate appearances or so. I would say another 40-ish. And if you start to see some of that positive shift, even if all the production's not quite there yet, then I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot longer than that. So Blake says 150.
That's just, yeah. I'm not saying that's what the Dodgers
will. Yeah.
Like, for me to be confident in him again, that's what I'm looking for.
And it's more so the opposite, right? Like, how long does he have to be bad before I'm ready to actually jump off of the train? And so Blake says 150 plate appearances. That sounds pretty good to me. Okay. Some more questions here. Blake says, after the Dodgers win the World Series this year, what date next season do we start asking if they're actually bad because of a week-long slump? Well, it was after the 3-game losing streak, I believe, was the first time we had that conversation this year. So let me get a specific date for us on that one, Anthony. That was on Tuesday, April 8th. So April 8th was the panic moment for some people. Do you think it's before or after that in 2026 we're panicking?
If they lose on opening day next year after the winning the World Series, there's going to be people in the chat panicking.
Yeah. I mean, so they lasted, I guess that was what, 13 games into the season. They won't be playing abroad next year by all expectations. So I think we get past April 8th next year. That would be my guess. Obi-Wan says, where's Matt Moreno? Who else likes Jack in the Box curly fries? I saw people asking about Blake and Matt. There isn't like this conspiracy theory about why they're not on here. The schedule just hasn't lined up. Anthony and I are doing Tuesdays and Sundays. I think we've got some news on who's going to be on regularly with me on Thursday, but I'm not sure I can publicly announce that yet. So stay tuned. But Blake and Matt are going to be on. They're going to get mixed in here. They do a lot more on the writing side and the covering of the team at the stadium and that kind of a thing. And so sometimes it's harder for them to be able to get onto a show like this. So it's just been a random things. Are you a Jack in the Box curly fries guy, Anthony?
Yes. They used to be a lot better though a few years ago.
Sounding like an old man over there, Anthony. It's like, wow,
yeah, back in my day, the curly fries were better.
Dodgers Hub says, thoughts on Conforto being platoon so far? Any thoughts on Heston Kim call up soon? We both said, hey, we'd be, anywhere from accepting of it to for it. I've hated the Conforto platoon from day one. I don't get it. He hit lefties. Yeah. I know historically he has been bad, but compared to the alternatives, like, what are we doing? Just give me however bad the platoon splits are. And again, they were good last year in a small sample size. I just give me Conforto every day has been my position and remains my position.
Yeah, with you.
Okay, let's see. Jason said his whipping boy is has been Muncy for years. Well, hey, look, if it's been Muncy for years, like 2025 is your year, Jason, because you've probably been taking L's on that take for a long time, but this is your time. Rojas creeping up there. Who's your bullpen whipping boy? There's nobody in the bullpen I don't like.
I don't really have one right now.
Yeah, I mean, Luis Garcia, like, that's probably everybody's answer, but
I
that
don't
doesn't
count him. Yeah, he doesn't even register for me.
Yeah, and I'm not. If I answer that question, it's like Jeff hates this guy. So look, I'm gonna at least pretend to have learned my lessons. Stockton Slap. Do you panic if the Rockies sweep us? The team hasn't played well all year. Even the wins were sloppy. Padres and Giants look real good. Bad vibes. Do you panic if the Rockies sweep us, Anthony? Laura said she'd go from a 4 to a 6. You started at 4. Is it a 5? Is it a 6? Is it a 7?
Yeah, maybe it's a 5. I mean, at some point you need to have some results. But like panic is probably too strong a word. Like I'm more concerned. I think my level of concern is pretty low right now.
Yeah.
But if they get swept by the Rockies, then it goes up because again, you do have to win games. And you should not lose 3 in a row to the Rockies.
Yeah, agreed. Aaron says, with a logjam at catcher, are Dalton Rushing's days numbered? No, not at all. They are not numbered. The backup catcher is on the final year of his deal. And Dalton Rushing will be in the major leagues probably this season at some point, and if not next year, and they'll make it work. So no, Dalton Rushing not going anywhere. Havoc says, why not call up Rushing for Barnes and Freeland for Muncy? Because they're not going to cut Austin Barnes and Max Muncy is the simplest reason. They have other guys. They could call those guys up for, send Pages down, or whatever. Chris Taylor, send him out of town. But yeah, unfortunately, neither of those things is going to happen. SK, is Will Smith a bad defensive catcher? Why can't he block balls from going by? He was one of the best in the league at attempting to throw runners out last year. Obviously, the pitcher plays a role in that. He's very bad at framing. All the past balls I've seen have not been his fault. Like it's Glasnow spiking curveballs 3 feet in front of the plate. So
Snell too.
Yeah. I haven't seen much. So there you go. Okay. Here's my food question, and we're going to end on this. So, actually, Alex says, what's your take on this coming series? Is it a must sweep? It is not a must sweep.
No.
We have May versus Senzatella, Knack versus Feltner, and then potentially Bobby Miller versus German Marquez on Wednesday. It is not in the hellscape that is Coors Field. It is at home. The easy answer here, Anthony, is 2 out of 3. If I gave you, I'm going to say 2 out of 3 because I'm going to have a cop out. You want to predict the sweep? You want to predict the Dodgers lose? 2 out of 3? What do you want?
No, I think they'll win the series. I don't think they'll sweep. And let's say they lost that series 2 games to 1.
Yeah.
And one of them was like a 3-1 loss, and the starting pitcher went 6 and gave up 1 or something like that. Again, it's April. I'm not panicking about that. They just need to hit better. They're clearly in an offensive slump. We're witnessing it right now. So am I going to like it? No, because at some point you do need to start winning more games. But losing a series like that, isn't going to make me go fire Dave and let's redo Andrew Friedman's contract.
Yeah, I'm with you. Somebody, I love BC joking that he wishes it was at Coors so the offense would wake up. Maybe, although nothing good ever happens in Coors, so that's why I hate that place. Okay, first thing, shamelessly, if anybody has a Freddie Freeman bobblehead, let's send me a message. Let's make a trade. I'm very interested. Just throwing that out there. I joked, and Laura, if you're still in here, I joked if somebody gets me a Freddie Freeman bobblehead from the other night, I'll say nice things about Austin Barnes for 12 months. We can negotiate on contract terms. I'll sing you happy birthday. Whatever I got to do. Okay. I think that's a sweet bobblehead. Okay. Here's my food question. David's eager for this one. I post this on social media, so some people might have heard it. I go to it was a coffee shop type place that makes sandwiches. So primarily coffee, but they've got a handful of sandwiches on the menu and not they promote themselves as sort of gourmet-ish sandwiches. And for the most part, I would say that's true. So they had 2 sandwiches particularly on the menu. They had a BLTA, which for those uninitiated, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and avocado. The second one was called jamón y queso, which for, again, the uninitiated, is a ham and cheese sandwich. And it had some pickled onions in it and some homemade pickles. And it was good. Here's my beef, Anthony. Both sandwiches, the ham sandwich and the bacon sandwich, featured Canadian bacon. It was the same meat.
Okay.
They were advertising a BLTA, Anthony, that did not have bacon in it. It had Canadian bacon on it. And Jason, I know you're in the chat and you're a food guy and you're Canadian. Nonsense to me. And the ham and cheese sandwich had Canadian bacon, which, look, that's closer to ham than it is to bacon, as far as I'm concerned. This is an outrage, right? Like, you have to read the fine print to figure this out. If you got a BLTA and it had no bacon, it had Canadian bacon, aren't we rioting?
Yeah, I'll say this: the Canadian bacon, like the ham and cheese sandwich, which sounds like a Cuban. Was it like pressed and hot and stuff, or?
Yeah, it was hot. It was hot.
Okay.
And it had like pickled red onions and homemade pickles, and like a aioli on it. That's what I ended up getting, and it was solid. And I wouldn't have even noticed that it was Canadian bacon, I don't think.
Okay.
Had I not read the menu.
So that one that would get a pass for me. Like, okay, that's fine. But if I ordered a BLT and there wasn't bacon in it, yes, I had a problem with that.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one. And who knows? It might have been like fancy Canadian bacon. Like, again, if you had given it me in a ham sandwich, I don't think there was enough other flavor with the cheese and the sauce going on that I probably wouldn't have noticed. But yeah, there you go. Stockton Slap. Super chat. One fast food place for the rest of your life, nothing else. I mean, it's an easy one for me.
I guess I'm saying In-N-Out.
Yeah, the hard part is In-N-Out, like, it's any fast food question. So what's number 2 on the list? That's where it gets interesting, because In-N-Out's 1, and it's non-negotiable. But again, In-N-Out is not already in your
non-burger place.
What's that? No, like, In-N-Out's off the table. So you got to pick a different place. So if you pick Taco Bell, you get no burgers for the rest of your life.
Okay, so like In-N-Out doesn't exist, you're saying?
Yeah, like, because you only get one fast food place for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Then I would have to think good and hard about this. Someone says Chipotle. Is Chipotle fast food though?
I mean,
they don't have drive-throughs.
Like, we counted Panda Express.
At least have to have drive-throughs, right?
Yeah, but some Chipotles have drive-thrus. See, this is the problem. But it's like 1%. We counted Panda Express as fast food when we did our fast food drive.
I would say Panda Express.
Wow,
because I could get some variety there at least.
Yeah. Raising Cane's. Ooh, not bad answer there. Raising Cane's. I love Raising Cane's. Jason, by the way, food guy here. You aren't wrong. Don't mess with the BLT. It's a classic. He's Canadian, by the way.
I agree.
Nicole says Canadian bacon is bacon. Ham should be thicker. Look, I'm just telling you, Nicole, we appreciate you watching the show. One of almost 2,000 people in here with us live at 9:27 on a Sunday night. Canadian bacon is bacon. I have some thoughts. I mean, technically, the word bacon is in the name, but man, that's tough. Stockton Slap says, wouldn't you want more variety and a bigger menu? The problem with fast food is, like, again, unless we're going the Chipotle Panda Express route, it's like you could go Taco Bell and you're getting all tacos, or like burritos, Mexican, basically, or you could go burger and you're getting like burgers and chicken nuggets, essentially. So, like, I mean, Wendy's, you want like a little Wendy's, I guess they got a couple salads on the menu, baked potato and some chili if you want to get real fancy every once in a while.
I if I'm limiting myself, I'm just going to at least go to like what tastes best to me. And so like, that's why I would go In-N-Out. And then if that's off the table, like I said, I would go Panda, because at least there's some variety there.
Yeah, there you go. Amanda says that was Canadian humor. So sorry, Nicole, if that was a joke that us dumb Americans didn't understand. Yeah, there you go. I think it's In-N-Out. I love fast food. I mean, Wendy's is great. I feel like great nuggets, great burgers. Like I said, if you really wanted to mix in, if we're doing like literally it's the only place you're eating for the rest of your life, you can mix in a couple salads, a baked potato, and some chili every once in a while. Yeah, there you go. That's what I got. I don't know. Yeah, I'd be happy in all of them. I'd be overweight, but I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not I mean, look, I'm pro Jack in the Box. I think I'd die pretty dang quickly. And maybe that's the goal. Maybe if you were just forced to eat at one restaurant for the rest of your life, you'd just say, how do I get out of here the quickest? I don't know. So, yeah. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Again, a huge crowd in here on a Sunday night. We appreciate all of you. That is Anthony Witrado. I am Jeff Spiegel. He's annoyed. I'm still Jeff Spiegel. You can find him at Witrado on social media, me at Jeff Spiegel. Find Dodger Blue 1958 on social media, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube as well. If you're new here, subscribe, ring the notification bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. Again, check out the interview we did with Mark Wicker, the author of a Don Drysdale book that is out now. Check out the Eric Gagne interview from last week, and stay tuned for tons of good content coming up this week. Folks, enjoy the rest of your night. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, even if they won 3 of their last 9, even if they lost the series, guess what? Still champs.